And welcome back to Seeking City Hall, everybody. 3 interviews down, 3 to go in our forum with the leading Democratic candidates for New York City mayor. So next up, Brad Lander, who went from the city council to the comptroller's office. He's often found himself at odds with Mayor Eric Adams, leaning into the watchdog aspect of his current position. While mentioned in many slates of endorsements, Mr. Lander will need many more #1 votes to come out on top. And Mr. Lander, great to have you here.
Great to be here.
I want to begin with a huge story that's playing out in real time. The unrest playing out in Los Angeles, of these protests and immigration clashes over these migrant arrests, right? We're also seeing it play out here in New York City. ICE agents have been arresting those attending, those appearing for immigration court hearings. Now, it led to protesters trying to stop these immigration raids, leading the NYPD to clash with protesters, place some of them under arrest. So the question here is, what is the NYPD's role in protecting federal law enforcement as they undertake some of these deportation actions?
I mean, according to New York City sanctuary city laws, if someone has been convicted of a serious or violent offense, that's when New York City cooperates with ICE or other federal authorities. But if they have not, then we are not supposed to be cooperating. ICE is busy denying people due process. I saw it with my own eyes. I went last Thursday to immigration court, accompanied 3 families out of the building because they were worried they were going to be grabbed with no due process and deported under something called expedited removal, and NYPD should not be facilitating that.
So once a protest, I guess, gets rowdy, should the NYPD step in?
Well, you have a right to free speech and nonviolent protest. Obviously, you don't have a right to break laws, harass, or be violent. So, of course, if people break laws, then the NYPD should get involved. But if people are involved in nonviolent protest, especially of a creeping authoritarian government, then protecting people's right to free speech is what the NYPD should be doing.
And we're also seeing play out in California, the National Guard being activated, the military being activated now by the president, in a move that the LA mayor and the governor are saying is causing chaos, right? So if the president were to enact that here in New York City, how would you as mayor handle that?
I mean, let's be clear. What the president is doing is trying to stoke fear in the part of immigrant families. And New York, half of New Yorkers live in a mixed status household. 40% are immigrants, so including 1 million children. And then I believe that Trump and ICE are trying to provoke conflict. So what the city should be doing is protecting nonviolent protest, but also helping to de-escalate, keep things calm. But yes, calling out the National Guard is supposed to take the governor doing it. That did not happen in California, should not happen here.
So there's not much that could happen if you were to be mayor, if it were to happen?
Well, first, I'd be doing what I did last Thursday. I mean, I went and I walked 3 immigrant families who are doing things the right way, have kids in New York City's public schools out of that building so that they would have an opportunity for due process. And then I would help keep things calm, but I would protect the right to protest against creeping authoritarian government, which is what we are seeing from Trump right now. And it's important that people stand up.
That is one big issue. The other big issue playing out in real time is anti-Semitism that we're seeing on the rise. The NYPD just put out that 60% of hate crimes in the first quarter of this year have targeted Jewish New Yorkers. So is the rise in anti-Semitism that's playing out right now a result of the pro-Palestinian anti-war protest movement?
Look, let me start just by saying I'm a proud Jewish New Yorker. I have loved raising my Jewish kids here. I'm the highest ranking Jewish elected official in New York City government, so no one will work harder than me to keep Jews safe and all New Yorkers safe from hate crimes. And it's the same as on the prior answer. You can, of course, speak up on an issue, speaking up for Palestinian human rights. I've done it in the past. I love Israel, the vision of a Jewish and democratic state, but that's consistent with believing in human rights of Palestinians. What's not is threatening Jews, is what happened in Washington, D.C. with 2 cold-blooded murders or a flamethrower in Boulder, Colorado.
What are you attributing the rise to?
I mean, those 2 individuals are heinous individuals. There is long-standing anti-Semitism, unfortunately, and it bubbles up at many different times. And it comes from the right, it comes from the left, it comes from the center, unfortunately. And so, yeah, I've got a bold plan that'll make sure we keep everyone safe. We restore the mayor's office of hate crime prevention, make sure you could get an NYPD car outside that synagogue.
So you mentioned the hate crime prevention. Would you get rid of the anti-Semitism task force and replace it with an overall hate crime, or keep both?
Keep both. I mean, look, and the best way to keep Jews safe is make sure you're safe against anti-Semitism, and also all other New Yorkers are feeling safe as well. Anti-Semitism is the largest set of hate crimes, but not the only one. The way we make New York safe is to make it safe for Jews and for everyone else. That's education in our schools. That is police when necessary out in front of places of worship if you want one. And it's online as well.
Mayor Adams he just signed an executive order to change what the definition of anti-Semitism is. Now, the next mayor could either uphold that or end that executive order. What would you do?
I mean, Mayor Adams is engaging in very cynical politics here. He's in the last months of his mayoralty, and to try to stoke this up as an issue, I think is just trying to weaponize anti-Semitism for his own political gain. Look, I love the vision of Israel as a Jewish and democratic state, but I am fiercely critical of its right-wing government in many different ways. This definition that he has codified might say that that was anti-Semitic, to criticize Netanyahu or the right-wing racist ministers in his government. And I can tell you, I will fight anti-Semitism and all hate crimes in New York City.
You would end that executive order.
But that executive order will not help make Jews safer.
And just lastly on this issue, he also had this declaration of intent to create this deal between New York City and Israel to create this council to strengthen economic ties. Would you keep that council?
I don't know about that council. I believe in economic ties with a lot of other countries. It's good for New York City to have tourism, to have foreign trade. That's true with Israel. That's true with many Arab countries. That's true with Mexico and Canada. So I think I would keep all of those things.
Yeah, I want to talk about housing. It's a huge issue in New York City, right? Affordability of housing as well. And you have this plan that calls for the declaration of housing emergency to cut through some of the red tape that takes so long, right? To tap into the city's land use policies, build 500,000 units of new affordable housing, including on city golf courses, right? The question here is, why should a New Yorker believe that you can get that done? Every single candidate has talked about this. Every mayor has talked about this. The mayor has a city of yes looking at 80,000. Why should someone believe
So everyone talks about it, but I've got the track record of doing it. Before I was in elected office for 15 years, I built and preserved thousands of affordable homes in nonprofit organizations. In the city council, I passed the rezoning of the area around the Gowanus Canal, where more housing is going up than anywhere else in the city. 8,000 homes rising in my neighborhood, 3,000 of them affordable. I've invested in the creation and preservation of over 50,000 homes as controller. So I've got a track record on housing. I've got a plan to make our city agencies work better to deliver it. I will be the housing mayor.
Mayor Adams has 80,000. I mean, this is a big jump from 80,000 to 500. Is it guaranteed you can get that done? Guaranteed.
I'm going to get it done, yes. I've laid out where. We've got great places like along the Interborough Express, a new rail line in Brooklyn and Queens near transit. There's some places around the city we've identified. 4 of the city's 12 city-owned golf courses could be 50,000 new homes in great new neighborhoods with courtyards and childcare and real family-friendly neighborhoods for young families like yours, Dan, who want to be able to live in the city and can't find a place right now that makes sense for them.
Yeah, safety and traveling around the city is a big issue as well, and brings us to the conversation of subways. And New York City has the ability now to involuntarily remove people from the subway. How aggressive would your administration be in removing people who are homeless? And if you do, where would they go?
Yeah, so as mayor, I will end street homelessness for people with serious mental illness. We actually did this in New York City about 15 years ago for veterans. We had a lot of veterans who were living on the street. We used this policy called housing first. Look, yes, sometimes if a person is a danger to themselves or others, you have to take them to the hospital. But what actually gets people off the street permanently is stable housing and services. And they're using this housing first model in Houston, in Denver, in Salt Lake City. It works 70 to 90% of the time to get people stably housed, and it will work to end street homelessness here. That's
so more than just psychiatric beds. More than just beds.
These are supportive housing units or single room occupancy. We saw in the pandemic when you offer people a room, a roof of their own, a door, a lock, they're much more likely to take it than a shelter bed or a hospital bed. Sometimes you need those hospital beds, but permanent, stable, supportive housing is what works.
For both plans, the housing and this, where are you getting the money?
Well, we spend so much right now on hospital and on jail for people who are homeless that honestly we'll save money, about $100 million in the first year and then $30 million a year after that. So I've laid out exactly where that money will come from. And on housing, a lot of what you can do is what I did in Gowanus, use the opportunity to let folks build like those golf courses. We'll be able to create affordable housing units. The city already owns the land. We can make the housing affordable for families, and not just rental, but home ownership also.
2 people that you need to work closely with would be the governor governor and the president, right, because of federal dollars that come this way. First on the governor, does she deserve a second term?
I work closely with her on the Gowanus rezoning. We got congestion pricing implemented. There's a lot of important work to do together on mental health and housing. So yes, I look forward to working with her when I'm mayor and in her continued.
Yeah, but she's up for re-election, so does she deserve another term?
I look forward to working with her. Everyone's got to go through an election, but I think she's doing well, and I look forward to working with her.
Okay, and then, of course, the other thing is President Trump, and that's getting those federal dollars that he's kind of threatened.
I don't look forward to working with him.
he's loomed large over New York City. I know there was the clawback of over $100 million that you kind of caught, right?
That's right. So it was my office who called that out and forced the mayor into court to sue to get it back.
Would you meet with President Trump if you were to win in the first 100 days of becoming mayor?
I would not meet with him in the first 100 days of becoming mayor. Our agencies would work together, our housing department and the federal housing department. City agencies and federal agencies work together every day. But right now, with him doing what he's doing in Los Angeles, provoking conflict, taking away the authority that governors and mayors have had to keep their cities safe and their people safe. We've seen what it looks like with Eric Adams to have a mayor who capitulates to the president. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. It's not getting New York City any more resources. It's not keeping New Yorkers safe.
Is there something that you agree that he's doing right now that you would work with him on?
Well, you work with the federal government on all kinds of things. You're right that housing money comes to the city. I want it to keep coming. Healthcare money comes to the city. Schools money comes to the city. So we're going to work with the federal government on all the places that we need their resources, but we're not going to collaborate on denying people due process and scooping them off the streets, on escalating conflict by sending in the National Guard or the military, and on cutting the healthcare and the housing and the education funding that New Yorkers rely on.
You know, we saw this with Jessica Ramos, one of your colleagues and other candidate in the race for mayor. She cross-endorsed, and she endorsed Mayor, former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Would you consider cross-endorsing anybody in the race?
Well, let's be clear. Andrew Cuomo was a corrupt governor. Sexual harassment, lied about the nursing home desk, killed the commission he created to root out corruption when it got too close to him. He is running a corrupt campaign fueled by $1 million from DoorDash. Now Airbnb is spending, so.
Questions about cross-endorsing.
He would be a corrupt mayor, so no one should have Andrew Cuomo anywhere else on their ballot. I am asking for people's first-ranked endorsement. You got 4 more slots, and you should fill them up with people who are not.
But would you consider cross-endorsing?
I'm encouraging New Yorkers to vote for B first, for people who are not Andrew Cuomo second. Working Families Party's got a good slate of recommendations. And Andrew Cuomo nowhere on your ballot. He does not deserve your trust.
Understood. Got to leave it there because I'm giving everybody equal time. Mr. Lane, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.